Pause for a moment and look at your life without any excuses. Don't think about what people will say. Don't think about whether you are behind or ahead of others. Just honestly see how you feel inside today. Do you ever feel like you are no longer the person you once were, or the person you wanted to be? Does it ever happen that everything looks fine on the outside, but somewhere inside there is an emptiness, a fatigue, as if you are moving away from yourself? Most people can't put this feeling into words, so they ignore it. But this very feeling is the beginning of this book. Rebuilding from Within. Rebuild Yourself tries to explain that breaking down is not a defeat. Breaking down is a part of life. The real question is not whether you broke, but whether you are ready to rebuild yourself. Many people stop right there after breaking. They make their old pain, old mistakes, and old fears their sole identity. But this book says that you can reforge your identity, no matter how many times you've fallen. If you like this book summary, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support inspires me to make better videos. Author Pratidnya Rumde offers no grand philosophy but tells us quietly and sincerely that rebuilding does not begin on the outside, it begins within. We often think that if our job changes, our relationship improves, or our circumstances get better, we will automatically be okay. But the truth is that until you change internally, nothing external can make you feel better for the long run. The book first makes you realize that you are tired, and this fatigue is not just physical. It is the exhaustion of hopes, expectations, and the effort of constantly trying to please others. We gradually put our own needs aside, suppress our own voice, and then one day we feel that we cannot recognize ourselves. This is the point where rebuilding is needed. The book also makes it clear that most people cannot move past their past because they constantly relive it. Old mistakes, old failures, and old wounds run like a loop in our minds. The book says it is necessary to understand the past, not to be trapped in it. To rebuild, you must accept your past, but not let it become your entire identity. A very profound point emerges here. We often talk to ourselves in a very harsh way. We never forgive ourselves for the same mistake we forgive in others. The book teaches us that talking to yourself with kindness is a skill. Until you treat yourself gently, you won't be able to stand up again. Rebuild Yourself also says that change is not always dramatic. Most changes begin with small, simple decisions. Like deciding not to blame yourself for everything anymore, or accepting that every day doesn't have to be perfect. Or understanding that healing doesn't mean the pain never existed, it means the pain no longer controls your life. This book shows that we often get tired living up to the expectations of others. To rebuild means identifying which things are truly yours and which things you have only taken on as a duty. When you decide to rebuild, it may feel like you are being selfish, but choosing yourself is not selfish. Only when you are strong inside can you truly be present for others. A very important point is made here. To rebuild doesn't mean to completely erase the old person. It means you learn from them. What you endured, struggled with, and lost, it was not all in vain. Those very experiences can become your new foundation if you look at them with the right perspective. Now we will talk about how to rebuild self-trust, why boundaries are necessary, how emotional strength develops, and how life feels different after rebuilding. Boundaries, trust, and emotional strength. Let's move to that part where most people stop, because here rebuilding demands daily decisions. Many assume that they have read the book and understood the message, so everything will be fine. But this book repeatedly reminds us that understanding and changing are not the same thing. Change begins when you start recognizing your own patterns, those habits, reactions, and automatic responses you adopted for years without thinking. Rebuild yourself clarifies that the first true sign of rebuilding is learning to create boundaries within yourself. Boundaries are not about building walls, they are about deciding what you will tolerate and what you won't. Most people break because they are available to everyone and take on everyone's responsibility, leaving nothing for themselves. When you rebuild, you start understanding that every yes costs your energy, and every no secures your protection. The book also calmly states that guilt is a part of this entire process. When you start prioritizing yourself, guilt will come, making you feel like you are selfish. But the truth is, you couldn't remain as you were, because being that way was what was breaking you. To rebuild doesn't mean to become insensitive, it means to be as honest with yourself as you have been with others. When you are broken, you lose self-trust. To rebuild means rebuilding this trust, and it is built not with big decisions, but with small ones. Every time you stand up for yourself, every time you don't dismiss your feelings, every time you don't lie to yourself, your self-trust returns a little. Author Pratidnya Rumde also explains that emotional strength does not mean being emotionless. True strength is feeling your emotions but not being shattered. It's accepting fear but not letting it take the steering wheel. When you learn to understand your emotions, they stop controlling you. This book also shows that rebuilding is not a linear process. Some days you will feel far ahead, and some days you will feel like you are back where you started. But the difference will be that now you will be aware. You will know that falling is not the end, it is a part of the process. Earlier, you used to fall and scold yourself. Now you fall and you pick yourself up. This is the real change. Rebuild yourself also teaches us that we don't have to find every answer immediately. In rebuilding, uncertainty is normal. The in-between phase, when you are moving out of the old version but the new version is not fully built, is uncomfortable, but this phase makes you grow. The book also makes a subtle but important point about relationships. When you rebuild yourself, some relationships change naturally. Some people grow with you, and some people get left behind. This can be painful, but it is natural. Not everyone will be comfortable with your new version. One more important point the book repeatedly reminds us of is that healing doesn't mean your wounds disappear. Healing means those wounds no longer control your daily life. You can remember them, but they cannot stop you. You can learn from them, but they do not become your identity. Slowly, after rebuilding, life begins to feel different. Problems don't end, but you stop feeling helpless. You stop taking everything as a personal attack. This clarity makes you feel lighter. And here, the book teaches us a very beautiful thing. To rebuild doesn't mean to become perfect. It means to become real. With your flaws, with your fears, but with your self-respect. When you become honest with yourself, life doesn't feel so heavy. So if today you feel tired, broken, or disconnected, it doesn't mean you are weak. It just means it's time to rebuild. And rebuilding is not a one-day task, it is a gentle, patient process where you reclaim a little bit of yourself every day. Remember, who you were is not your whole story. What you have endured is not your entire identity. You can rebuild yourself every day, without noise, without proving anything, just for yourself. If you liked this book summary and it makes you think about yourself, then please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the story of the next book. Thank you.